My uncle has depression, but what does that word mean? Let's talk it through together. Come along, I'll set the scene. And there they are with the uncle going to the stadium. My uncle always seemed happy. He loved being part of a team. I would watch him winning trophies, which had always been his dream. Though happy on the outside, my uncle felt secretly sad. Inside, he was fighting a darkness that he was scared to say that he had. Now, just quickly on this spread is something that I'm really pleased with how it turned out, because I was speaking to another former rugby league player who told me a story about how there was actually the team he was playing for had actually won a really important match, and after that match he was thinking, if we win this, I'll be really, really happy and really pleased. And he said, actually, after it, I wasn't, and I couldn't explain why. And he said, I felt trapped, and that sort of inspired this illustration, which has been done really, really amazingly by Adam. So hopefully, again, for any children, young people watching, you can see how that fella is should be super, super happy there, but he's really struggling in that moment. I'd learned about depression at school. We can all feel down, and that's okay. Depression, however, is different, as it can last day after day. It can be caused by a trigger, a life moment or event. This can lead to a downward spiral, which is better to prevent. And within this, we wanted to show it, myself and Adam, the illustrators, some of the things that could lead potentially to, could be a trigger as well for people. So there's a few things on there that's suggesting some things that might trigger depression for some people. So I spoke to my uncle. At first, he put on his brave face. When he felt ready to talk, we found a helpful place. My uncle told the counsellor about how he thought and felt. The counsellor said, "I'm here," and his worries started to melt. And within this spread as well, we wanted to try and just drop in a few different words, especially for children and young people, to discuss with the parents and carers or teachers, families. So if they see words like bipolar, to try and start that conversation. What does that word mean, or what does postnatal mean, or even what does the word stress or depression mean? And then there's a little pink poster in the background as well, which is the first sort of thing that I wrote when I was writing this book, but we really wanted to include it somewhere. And it says, there's something very important. It's called your mental health. It affects a lot of people, no matter your age or wealth. And again, just wanted to get that point across to children and young people that it doesn't matter who you are, what your background is, where you've come from. Anyone can be impacted by depression at some point in their life. So, it doesn't matter who you are. So it's really important to remember that as well. I can feel anxious, said my uncle. I get angry, upset, and can't sleep. I've even started to lose interest in the hobbies and friendships I keep. Sometimes I feel so low that I can't get out of bed, or I struggle to leave my house because of the thoughts in my head. And again, I love this, what Adam's done here with the illustrations, just again, for children and young people, little things to notice, like the time and things like that. Hopefully it starts that discussion as to why, it's clearly that daytime, and they might seem that that's not always typical for someone to be in bed around that time, and why would he still be in bed, for example, just to start that conversation. It's things like he's got his rugby ball in the bin and stuff like that as well. So it's just trying to really emphasise that. The counsellor suggested treatments like a healthy diet and exercise, or joining a support group could help balance the lows and the highs. So again, with this one, we didn't want to suggest that just having a good diet or just exercising helps, but it's, you know, definitely something that can help. So again, there's many other things, but as well as talking and that support group, and from speaking to people, you know, like yourself, Danny, and like other people who've experienced depression, the big thing that came out to me was just about how important talking is. So that's what we really wanted to get across, and talking to different people.
Absolutely.
The sooner you talk, the better. It's not weak, it shows you how strong. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Just don't ignore it for too long. My uncle has to work hard to keep the darkness away, but by talking all about it, he feels much better each day. So yeah, really like his spread as well, just showing that really calm, really peaceful environment that the uncle's in there, which would obviously be really helpful, but also trying to get across to children and young people that, you know, depression isn't something that just comes and then goes away just because you've done some meditation or you've done some exercise or you've spoke about it once or twice. You know, it's something that, you know, can be with you for a long time, if not forever. So, you know, it's something that, as I'm sure you'll agree, Danny, is a battle, and that's what, again, something I wanted to get across.
Yeah, spot on, Alex. All I want to just jump in with that is that, you know, your mental health is a continuum. You know, if you're struggling, you know, you can have lots of ups and downs. Life is not always linear. So there's lots of ups and downs. It's a bit like a roller coaster. There's a lot of ups and downs in life, but it's about doing the right things and having the right coping mechanisms to deal with them ups and downs. So absolutely spot on.
Thanks, Danny. My uncle has depression. Now you know about it too. When you meet someone with depression, you'll know just what to do. And again, throughout that book, there's a lot of suggestions, and, you know, we're not looking at saying this is exactly what you should do, or this or that, but hopefully children, young people can pick up on some points from that book really quickly and really easily, and find some suggestions, even like in this image here. So you'll see, you know, the uncle's playing rugby there again. He's got back into that frame of mind where he's enjoying his sport again. And you'll notice in the background is the teacher or the support group leader, and as well as his niece. So it's trying to show that, again, I think it's on this next page, on the end page, sorry, there, that you've got people from his support group that have actually joined and come and watch him play rugby. And what we wanted to get across there was the very first page in the book. It was the uncle and the niece, but then by the end of the story, you've got different people supporting and obviously offering the support to this uncle and this person. And, you know, I think trying to just get across that to children and young people that actually, you know, it's good to talk, and that's the most important thing to your different support networks, whether that be friends, family, or a support group, no matter who it may be. It's just so important to talk, and that's what we wanted to get across there. And then just obviously on that page, hopefully we can see. So the next book, like I said before, that's out really soon. All the illustrations are finished now, and we're just getting some charity information in there and stuff, but and some reviews. But yeah, that one's coming really soon. That's about cancer, and that's inspired by my brother and my friend and other people I know who live with cancer as well. So really excited about that one. First of all, just any of your thoughts around the book or anything that you've picked up on.
Yeah, well, the first thing when you contacted me regarding doing a book on depression for young kids was absolutely 100% go and do it, because, you know, they reckon that most adult people with depression start before the age of 14.
Right.
So the sooner kids can learn about depression, what it is, how you feel, what you need to do about it, the coping mechanisms that you need to use, the things that you shouldn't be using, i.e. drink, drugs, stuff like that, to try and numb these, is the sooner the better. So it was absolutely defo for me to jump on board. You know, I was best mates with Terry Newton as well, so I lost Terry. But I also suffered with depression myself after being forced into retirement at an early age, contemplated suicide, I'll be honest with you. But I was lucky that I finally opened up and I spoke to my family about it, and that probably saved my life. You know, I could have gone down the road of what typical men do, where they start struggling but hide it. I did that for a while, but then I remember getting called out on it by my family and just making me talk about my issues, and I finally opened up, and it was probably the hardest, most bravest thing I've ever done. And I'm just lucky that, you know, my family did notice a massive difference in the way I was acting. I'd gone from being this most loving family man, laid back guy, to hating everything. Just my personality's changed. And, you know, me opening up and talking was the start of my new life. You know, all I've ever known from being 6-year-old was rugby league. All I've ever done. I didn't do my GCSEs. I was daft at school. All I wanted to be was that rugby league player. So I had nothing really to fall back on. And you know, I was lucky that I played rugby for 13 years, 10 of that at the highest level. But when my career got cut short through injury, I had nothing to drop back to. So I didn't go to college, university. I didn't have a trade to go back into, and that's what led to my depression. You know, the club that I was at the time, instead of looking after me and paying me medical bills and putting me through physio and making sure that, you know, even if I couldn't play rugby again, that I had some sort of quality of life. The club that I was at then didn't. They just ripped up my contract. I lost my job, my career, and we lost our family house when I had 2 young kids and a wife. And that's when I started suffering from depression really bad, and everything just, you know, just went from really, really good to, you know, absolutely living the dream. Couldn't be any happier to being depressed and feeling suicidal. And it was a massive thing to me to open up to my family, and I believe that, you know, suicide is a permanent ending to a part-time problem. You know, you can't come back from it. And I'm just so thankful that they did call me out. I opened up, I spoke to them, I used the right techniques. I got back into training eventually. I used exercise. I spoke to my counsellor. I had a real close family. I looked after my kids, and my wife looked after me, and, you know, we looked after each other basically. And that was, most of it was just through talking. Now, talking suits me down to the ground because it's free and I'm tight. So it was a win-win for me, and I used exercise. It was perfect. You know, it was perfect for me. And, you know, for my kids, all 3 of my kids who are 14, 12 and 7, they've all read this book, and they all think it's absolutely great. They understand what I've been through because I've told them. I've not told my youngest daughter, but my Ellie, who's 14, and Louis, who's 12, they know that what I've been through, the journey that I'm on. And I always think back to myself now is that, you know, I absolutely hate the club for what they did to me, but I also love them as well, because they put me on a new path, they put me in a new direction, and I'm probably more passionate, just like you are. I'm more passionate about mental health now than I was about rugby.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be doing what I do now if I'd have not gone through all that. But like I said earlier on in the book, life is not always, it's not always going to be like that. It's not always going to be an upward trajectory. It's going to be lots of ups and downs, but it's about having them techniques, then coping mechanisms, then people around you, and, you know, that family bond to being able to get through it. And that's the reason why I'm probably happy now than I've ever been. I really am.
Yeah.
And that's because I'm so passionate about the work that I'm doing in mental health. You know, I'm a wellbeing and lifestyle coach for the staff at the NHS, and they're going through some horrendous things. And you know, the stories that they tell us when we just go on a walk with them. You know, my job is the best job in the world. I get paid to go and have a coffee with people, to go for a walk around the park and feed some squirrels, to PT someone in the gym. It's unbelievable, honestly, but it's so rewarding. And books like this saves lives. So you should be really, really proud of yourself, mate. You really should.
No, thanks, Danny. I really appreciate that, and obviously really appreciate you sharing your story and your thoughts and opinions, honestly. And obviously, you know, you're more than happy to do that. I mean, like, because of your things like your book. I mean, like I say, I read your book, and even probably as a young adult, you know, that really sort of impacted me in that because as a fan, and for anyone watching this, you're a fan of rugby league or football, whatever it might be, you don't always see, well, you don't really see those stories. If you don't know those players, you grow up as a fan, especially as a kid, and you think, these great big fellas that are playing rugby, or great big sports person, or these big heroes of mine. Obviously, they just turn up and they just play, and that's all they do. And people don't see that everything else that's going on in people's lives, do they? And that's the exact reason why I chose this character to try and represent that. Because if this character, as a fairly intimidating looking person, can have can have depression and live with those experiences, then hopefully again children, young people see that anyone can. Yeah. So like I said, I really appreciate you sharing that, Danny, and we've got some nice comments through that have come through anyway, just saying, Danny, you're inspirational, keep spreading the word, and very important message, thanks for sharing, things like that, which is great. And what I would say, I don't know if there's a tip from yourself, Danny, as well, about, if you could just give one tip, or even if you wanted to, for children and young people, what would it be?
I think for young kids, it's just being active, getting out, don't be sitting on your Xbox and your what is it, your PS5, PS4, whatever you have, don't sit on that after school, go swimming, join a rugby team or a football team, join a football team, you get a new set of friends, and friends and having people around you is massive. And the thing why, when you mentioned about rugby players and why they do suffer from depression, is because we get a lot of highs in a year when we're playing. We're probably, the normal person will probably get 10 in a year. A rugby player will get up to 50. So when you go from 50 to 10, and then if you're struggling, you go from 10 to 0, that is why sportsmen suffer from depression quite badly. But definitely, it's not a weakness to speak. It's a massive, massive strength. I believe that when I spoke and opened up to my mum and dad, I was a bigger, braver, stronger bloke than if I didn't. I really do believe that. But just talk. It saves lives. Talking saves lives. And we've been told at State of Mind Sport, who are the charity that I work for, is that we changed over the last 10 years since Terry's death, and State of Mind was formed because of that.
Yeah.
We've actually changed 250 people's minds on taking their own life because of sessions that we deliver, which for us is unbelievable. If I can do this job for the next 30 years and save one life, then I've got this job done. So, just keep talking, keep exercising, get stuck into your schoolwork. Don't think you're going to be a professional sportsman all your life. You need something to fall back on. And just enjoy yourself, just smile, just have the crack and try and have as much fun throughout your life as you possibly can, because we only live once.
Yeah.
Just make the most of it.
That's awesome. And just to pick up on what you said about sport, Danny, I mean, I had this conversation over the past couple of days with different people, and I'm a former PE teacher and very, very passionate about the impact that physical activity can have on particularly children and young people. But growing up, like my family and friends would say, until I was 10, 11 years old, I was fairly overweight and not really interested in sport at all, and I would have been one of them just on a PlayStation. And I went down to St. Pat's, and it completely changed my life. And I would never have probably been, a world beater or anything like that, or good enough to reach any sort of heights in a rugby league sense. But I met people and became friends with people that I would never ever have met ever, and would never run in them social circles. And the confidence it gave me, and the confidence it also gave me when I started getting healthier, fitter, and I could see those results, was massive. And that's always stuck with me. And I remember one of the first things I got told from a coach when I went down to St. Pat's was, he said, "Oh, some of these lads have been playing for ages, and you've got a lot of catching up to do." And it's always something that stuck with me. I've always tried to have that mentality of, trying to make sure that I keep pushing myself to be the best. But that came just purely through sport and through rugby league. So just playing it at an amateur level like that. So I couldn't agree more.
Yes, it's. I tell you what people do when they start feeling down, low mood, stressed, anxiety, depression. They'll stop doing the things that they're good at. And you've just shown that in your book, where he's got a rugby ball in his bin. They'll stop doing the things that they're good at, and they'll stop doing the things that they enjoy.
Yeah.
If you want to keep yourself mentally fit, keep doing the things that you love. and keep doing the things that you're good at. And most of all, my last comment is just everyone out there who's watching this, just accept who you are. Don't try and be the girl around the corner or the lad next door, because you'll do a rubbish impersonation of them. Just be the best version of you that you can be.
That's fantastic. I mean, love to finish on that point. There are some questions that have come through. So just to ask a question for yourself, Danny. Someone asked, do you think there's more support now from the RFL, as it seems to be a reoccurring issue with ex-players?
There's 100% miles more help out there. Rugby League Cares, which is an arm of the RFL, they use a counselling service called Sporting Chance, which help professional sportsmen, which was set up by Tony Adams, the ex-England and Arsenal captain. Now, before 2011, before Terry Newton took his own life, the Rugby League used to have a confidential helpline for players who were struggling. Not one single player, it never had one single phone call. But since 2011, over 500 professional players have sought help. Now, there's only about 2,000 in the country, so that's a national average of 1 in 4.
Wow.
So if there's 100 people watching this now, there could be 25 people struggling. But I can guarantee that every single one of you 25 that's struggling will think that you're on your own. And that is far from the truth. And there is a lot more people struggling, especially with what's going on at the minute with the pandemic and stuff. But there's also a lot more charities out there. And there's also something called Hub of Hope, that if you were to Google Hub of Hope, type in your area where you're from, all the help services around your area will come up. So if you're from Wigan, type in Wigan, all the help services in Wigan will come up, whether you're from St Helens, Warrington, Leeds, Newcastle, it doesn't matter. Hub of Hope is all over the country. So just type it in, where you're from, and all the help services are there.
Brilliant. Well, that's brilliant, that, Danny. And again, just thanks so much for your time. Can't say how much I appreciate it personally, and your support, because it's not always easy getting everyone's support. And as you've said before, especially some different sports people, rugby players, former players, whatever, don't always want to talk about their experiences. So for you to speak so openly and honestly is absolutely huge. So, thank you so much. And, we'll just see how things go with the book. And hopefully, you can help in the future with showing it off and stuff, I guess, to people.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely.
No, appreciate it. But yeah, well, I'll let you jump off anyway, Danny, and we've had enough of your time. But yeah, again, no, thank you very much.
Really appreciate it. Cheers, guys. See you later.
Cheers, Danny. See you later.